Good evening. My name is Allison Kaplan. I'm Director of Education at the National First Ladies Library, located at the National First Ladies Historic Site in Canton, Ohio. I want to welcome you to this evening's program. I want to encourage you, if you logged in through Eventbrite and you are watching us live, that you click on the presentation so you're taken out into Zoom. We've had some people have some issues being able to hear the audio for our programs when they're logged in through Eventbrite. So I want to give you that reminder. I also want to mention some upcoming programs. So if you've been with us this past week for our legacy lecture, you saw Colleen Christian Burke speak about holidays at the White House, all the White House decorations. That legacy lecture is accessible through the National First Ladies Library YouTube page. And I encourage you to head there. And there are a number of programs, whether you are here to craft and are interested in crafty programs. There's some really cool archival crafting that goes all the way back to Martha Washington. You can see Colleen's talk, as well as a number of amazing talks from a panel on the future of First Ladies and the role, to a recent talk by Amy Greenberg about Sarah Polk. So we're really excited about that. We are just wrapping up the year, and if you still have some downtime and you're excited about learning more about First Ladies, I encourage you to go to that. But I also want to mention a few other programs coming up. So we have our Fun with Flotus program, which is for children, December 20th. So if you have a child in your life, a grandchild who might have some downtime and is on holiday break, December 20th, you can join us for a super fun activity about holidays at the White House that is geared towards children and their caregivers. We are going to have a special guest. Sarah from Cooking with the First Ladies will be with us, and we will be talking about Hanukkah at the White House. And we will also be doing a scavenger hunt related to Christmas at the White House and celebrations at the White House. We'll have a story and a craft. So I'm super excited about that. That's one of my favorite programs every year. And if you were with us for our Thanksgiving program, pardon that turkey, you know why. Also, December 16th, Michelle Gullion, our collections Director of Collections and Research, will be speaking as part of our Talk with a Curator program. National First Ladies Library has an amazing collection of Christmas cards and ephemera related to the First Ladies. And we are going to be focusing on Barbara Bush and her Christmas cards. So if you are a fan of the Bushes, or if you're just a fan of really amazing illustration and holiday cards, please join us, because I really think they are super remarkable. I have always enjoyed Barbara Bush's themes of literacy. And speaking of literacy, if you're looking for a good read, you can pull up our list on Eventbrite of future book club books. Our next book is a fictional book called Rodham that takes us through the scenario of what if Hillary Clinton did not meet Bill Clinton, and how would her life be? So that book is by Curtis Sittenfeld. We also have our film discussion coming up. We're going to be watching the film Iris. It's a documentary that is coming up a week from Tuesday. And it's a double feature, because the following month we will be watching Grey Gardens, which has connections to First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy. And both films are by the same director. I'm big Grey Gardens buff. I'm super excited about that. I hope you'll join us, because we'll definitely have some behind the scenes First Lady stuff about both of the films. I think there are some connections, so that will be really cool. So those are upcoming programs. If you have issues as you are watching this evening, if you have questions for Colleen, please put them in the chat. This is a webinar program, so we can't see you, but we can see your questions and what you are typing. And we're hoping that you will be crafting along with us for the crafting portion. And hopefully you received those materials instructions. If you did not, we will be sharing as we go, and we will have the recording out to you so you can follow along. And we are going to look at a few crafts tonight. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker. I'm super excited to connect again with Colleen Christian Burke. She's an author, designer, and historian. Colleen has had the three-time honor of being on the White House Holidays decorating team, having served First Ladies Laura Bush and Michelle Obama. In 2014, Colleen served as the White House design partner and began planning White House decor in February. So they get started really early. As soon as the decorations are down, they're planning again. Colleen is the author of the award-winning book, Christmas with the First Ladies, which I highly recommend. I've got my copy here. It is a Bible for me every December and earlier, as you can tell, by planning programs for the holidays. And she has also developed the Colleen Christian Burke Christmas Collection, which features ornaments and holiday tableware inspired by the First Ladies. And there are some really cool ones. Colleen is the recipient of the coveted Icon Award, the design industry's mark of excellence. And she has partnered with such national outlets as Macy's and Bloomingdale's. A lifestyle expert, Colleen has made over 45 national TV appearances, including Good Morning America, the CBS Morning Show, CNN, Fox and Friends, MSNBC, Hallmark, and HGTV. Colleen is considered a foremost White House historian and is a frequent lecturer at the Smithsonian. So I am going to unmute Colleen and welcome her to our program this evening.
Hi, Allison.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
As Colleen shares her screen here, I want to encourage anyone who has questions for Colleen as she's crafting, please leave them in the chat and we will be sure to address them. So we will be, as she's live crafting, we will be taking questions.
Perfect. So hi, everybody. I am Colleen Christian Burke, and I am so happy to be here with you tonight. One of my favorite things is crafts inspired by the First Ladies. And December is that special time of year where I get to do a lot of First Ladies crafting. As Allison mentioned, I was so lucky and honored to be part of the White House Christmas decorating team. I started as a volunteer with First Lady Laura Bush, and I joke that I campaigned harder than some presidents to get the position because, you know, I tried to be a volunteer for many years. And then when it actually happened, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how lucky I was. So I know I'm not going to be hitting the lottery because I already hit the lottery when I got to decorate at the White House. I would have been happy to hang just one ornament at the White House. But as my fate would have it, I went on to participate 3 times. And in 2014, I was a design partner. And along the way, I wrote a book called Christmas with the First Ladies. And every year I get to bring this book out. It's a very well-behaved project. Everyone always loves it. And we always have a lot of fun talking about the First Ladies. What I found in my White House Christmas decorating journey was that our First Ladies, one, really care about Christmas and the decorations and the holidays. And 2, they want to make it accessible to the American public. So when you're studying or just, you know, looking through the type of signature styles that they have and the type of decorations that were special that they shared with the American public, you will often find a crafting element. So I think the First Ladies have given us a wonderful gift. They've actually shown us how to bring the magic of the White House to our own homes. And when I was working as a design partner in 2014, it was very important to me and also to First Lady Michelle Obama, that there be elements in all of the rooms that people could duplicate if they wanted to. So the first couple slides I'm going to show you are some projects that I worked on, also with, with my family that ended up in the White House. And then we'll take a look at some first ladies and what they did. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the sparkly, snowy suitcases of 2014. So the idea here was, this is the state dining room. This is a little nook. The theme of this room was travel. Mrs. Obama, the theme that year was a winter wonderland for children. And that was the year the oldest, it wasn't lost on me that the Obama girls were getting older. So oftentimes when there are children and younger children in the White House, the theme that the First Lady picks to kind of unify all the decorations, if there are children in the White House, that theme will sometimes skew a little younger. So in 2014, it was a winter wonderland for children. And in the state dining room, we were talking about traveling our great country. And we had this idea of having trains in the state dining room, and White House Christmas decorations evolved through the planning. And even though there's lots and lots of space in the White House and in the staterooms, when it comes down to the logistics of people moving through the room, sometimes the space gets really small. So the idea of the trains started out as a large set that would be seen in the state dining room. And the actual, the train, I guess, real estate kept getting smaller and smaller until the way that we ended up using trains was they were just stationary. They didn't move under the trees. And there are two usually in the state dining room, and they usually flank the fireplace. So to go along with the trains, we came up with the idea of suitcases. And as you can see, the suitcases have the luggage tags on them, and they also have stamps from different places. Whoever owned these suitcases may have traveled in the great United States. So when Mrs. Obama had a policy or kind of a mandate that we would recycle, reuse, and repurpose. So I spent the summer of 2014 going to yard sales all around where I lived. And this is actually my daughter. She was a helper. And I collected old suitcases. And I liked kind of the ones with the vintage feel. You saw that circular hat box in the first picture. And we had some trunks, but I was specifically looking for things that were pretty beat up, that had interesting hardware, because I knew that we were going to spray paint them and glitter them. And I have to share with you guys, they were spectacular when they were finished. In real life, they don't translate as well in the pictures. They were really stunning in real life. They're also very messy if you try them at home. The glitter seems to get everywhere, as happens during the holidays. So the first coat of the these snowy suitcases was a white with a primer to it, just to make the job go a little bit faster. And usually I am a fan when it comes to spray paint and craft projects of going with the least expensive brand. But in this particular instance, we did spend a little bit more money going for the more expensive ones with primer, just because the project was taking so long. So we worked gathering up all these suitcases, and then I piled them up in my car and I drove them to the warehouse. Now, if you are ever so lucky to be a White House Christmas decorator, and I hope that you all are, one of the things you will find when you report to duty is that you don't actually go right straight to the White House. Instead, you meet on the White House grounds and you take a bus to a location called the warehouse. And it's kind of a secret location. And in this warehouse, there's lots of overflow materials that belong to the White House. So some excess chandeliers, maybe the holiday Easter decorations, certainly the Christmas decorations. And the warehouse is a place where people who are working on the White House Christmas decor will come and they will do some crafting. Now, because this particular technique took so long to dry, the technique is you spray until you can't see any of the original color anymore. I also went, if you see like the gold around the top of the hat box there, we did go to the trouble of taping off with painter's tape the hardware or the colors that had detail that we wanted to preserve. And then we basically you just spray it until you can't see the original color anymore. But at a certain point, you start adding glitter to the wet paint. And then you let it dry, you spray over it again. And there are several layers of simply spraying and then sprinkling your glitter and spraying again. And it gives it this really lovely effect. We knew the volunteers would not have time to do that from start to finish in the warehouse. But what we did do in the warehouse was we applied the different luggage tags and the decals from all over the country that you saw. So as I mentioned, the trains were supposed to run all throughout the room, and things change. White House Christmas decorating is very fluid because you have very limited access to the White House. The luggage was supposed to sit in the center of the floor, and you were supposed to be able to walk 360 all the way around it. And you may also notice that there's some brown now added in, because what happened was, if you recall, I said all of the luggage was collected up from all across the towns where I live. When I wasn't there, the way things run is all of the volunteers work on the decorations at the warehouse. And then there is a point when the decorations are considered finished. The volunteers step away, they go back to their hotel. And at that point, what happens is, working with the Secret Service, all of the decor is then examined to make sure that it is safe to be brought to the White House, that nothing nefarious could happen. So when they brought the bomb sniffing dogs to my luggage that I collected up from all over my town, the dogs went crazy. Now remember, it was old luggage, so we don't know what the dogs reacted to, but I will tell you, when I was not present, I'm not sure if it was the Secret Service, but whatever department it was, fearing something was not right with the luggage. I will also tell you, when we sprayed it shut. You couldn't just open it anymore. Once you spray and glitter, that is pretty much stuck shut. So they couldn't open them. So what they did do was slice open the back of all of them, which kind of broke my little White House crafting heart, but we made the best of it. So what you cannot see, and the reason that it is pushed up against there, is because that the ones that weren't like outright unusable, we made do with good old-fashioned American ingenuity, and we put them in the 4 alcoves in the state dining room. So not as planned, but that was how it ended up. And I will say, that was a lesson that I learned that I then passed on or left in the notes when I left. So Mrs. Obama had several different decorators. So I served 1 term, and I was so happy to serve 1 term, but they don't really give you a handbook. So you're kind of recreating it and learning on the job. And that was one of the things that I did not know, was to let people know if in fact your project has been part of a recycling program. So those are the shiny suitcases. So here we go again, folks. Another project we had that year was we wanted to have storybooks that opened up and told a story. Mrs. Obama was inspired by First Lady Barbara Bush, who often used literacy in her Christmas decor. And in fact, Mrs. Bush one year hung actual storybooks on the trees, and they are really popular books that pretty much all American children are exposed to in grade school. And they were the actual book, and there was a bow tied around it, and you hung it on the tree. So that idea was already done, books on the tree. And Mrs. Obama had an idea, well, what about making books come to life? Because that is what happens when we read them. So we came up with the idea of this pop-up art. And what you see hanging here is the book. It's open and it's all children holding hands. So that is how it was looking in the warehouse. And what we did to make this happen, again, I went to libraries and schools in my area and asked for books. And when you are getting decorations or donations for the White House Christmas decorating, you cannot come right out and say, you know, these are going to the White House. What I could say was, I am curating a project and I am working on a project for a very, very important and public home in America. And we would love if you would donate books of American, American classic literature that we could use to hang on the tree. But we really only want books that you were maybe going to get rid of or you were retiring, because we didn't want to destroy books. And the great thing about when you are telling people that you are working on a top secret project and you can't reveal any of the actual details, but they will be pleased when they find out, is they usually go along with you with lots of excitement and very few questions. And in the end, when you're able to reveal where their donations actually go, it's always a great deal of fun. So we knew we wanted books that we were going to drill holes in. And if you look at the top where I actually have the fishing wire, or maybe it's just some type of metal, floral wire running through the books, that's how we secured them on the trees. So we knew that these books would not go back into circulation at any library. And there it is on the tree. So these books were in the East Room. So the part the volunteers did on this project was they actually placed and glued in the pop-up art. And again, we did, I think we had 60 books for the East Room. So remember, our theme was a winter wonderland for children. So that's why we have the children popping out. There were two other forms of this book. One was a snowflake popped out. The other was a Christmas tree. The snowflake was the blue color you see hanging on the tree. And then the Christmas tree was like a lime green. Mrs. Obama was always interested in working with different colors. So to have a deep purple, a lime green, a baby blue, that was something that she really loved and was actually quite exquisite in the East Room. So the East Room is the big party room, holds 330 people, 4 gigantic trees in there, each 15 foot tall. And when you were doing White House Christmas decorating, you were always thinking about what is the special piece or the showstopper in each room? And then what does our filler look like? So these pop-up books were our special pieces. Our volunteers were going to help us make them. We really wanted them to stand out on the trees. And I told you, I got them donated from libraries. I got them donated from friends and family who were getting rid of books. So what do you think happened? On these 15-foot trees, I was planning to have 15 pop-up books on each tree. Well, folks, those darn dogs, they hit again because paper carries everything. And unfortunately, many of our books did not make it. So again, it was the same lesson. It was the same year. I learned it twice the hard way, to just really let people know within the other divisions what exactly is happening and how, in fact, these are recycled and there is nothing nefarious with the ornaments. So we had to make do once again. Mrs. Obama loved paper. And in the East Room, in addition to the pop-up books, there are 4 mantles. And we wanted to do something special on each of the mantles. We came up with the idea of the books coming to life, or a diorama. So this was an early prototype that I was working on in my home. And I was trying to go up. And sometimes when I look back on this process, I wish that we would have stayed along that line. We ended up not going quite as high. But you'll see the book in the background. We needed to find a book that made a statement when it was open. And as you go down, you see like the beautiful trees, the cutout art, the children again, our theme, a winter wonderland for children. We were working on bringing that into every room. So this was a prototype. And then I was working with a gal who was I've been telling you guys a winter wonderland for children. I forgot my own theme that year, a children's winter wonderland. I worked with a graphic artist who made these book pages to fit 4 old atlases that we bought from a used bookstore. Remember, I learned my lesson. So these books were actually safe. And here we go. That's what it ended up looking like on one of the mantles. And it's actually one of my my favorite things that we put into the White House decor that year. I will tell you though, it was not without its challenges, because the humidity in the White House is quite different than the humidity in my house. And the paper started to droop a little bit on site. So we reinforced it with some skewers, so some wooden skewers. So if you ever get into White House Christmas decorating, just be prepared to always be thinking on your feet, to be always troubleshooting, because the other thing that happens is you plan and plan and plan. You have very limited access to the White House. I was begging and pleading and begging and pleading for actually the dimension of this mantelpiece. I never got it till I was there. But you can remember I talked to you about the bomb sniffing dogs. You can only work with what's been cleared and brought into the White House. So if you forget something, folks, you are out of luck. You really need to make do with what you have. And oftentimes when I see first ladies getting criticized for their decor, I often think they might have realized as it was happening that perhaps it wasn't looking the way they wanted it to. But at that point, you really can't abandon ship. Your hands are tied. Your plan is your plan. And sometimes the best laid plans do go astray. So it's not like when we work in our home. And the other interesting thing, when you are a White House Christmas decorator, the entire time that you are working in the White House, which is usually between like 3 and 3.5 days, if you see an ornament that's out of place, if you see a tree topper that is maybe wilting, if you see something that just needs a little adjustment, you can fix it. But when you're invited back, which is the tradition to come back as part of a White House Christmas party, hands off, folks, you are no longer allowed to touch anything. So I was so happy the night that I went back in for the party to see that these 4 paper dioramas were still standing, and that the fix that we used with the wooden skewers that we had on hand were actually working. So I want to show you a couple things from some other first ladies, and we'll go through these quickly so we can get to our craft, and then I can show you some things that I actually have behind me. First lady, Pat Nixon, she loved to decorate chandeliers, and this was her signature look. And she did it many different ways. This was a year that she was using, little red paper covers over the candelabra. She was using natural pine cones, but other years she used brighter colors, and she often liked to decorate with gold. So if you have a chandelier, you might think of using some live or artificial greens in it. Betty Ford, I do crack up about the stringing of the popcorn in the White House private residence. And I see some gingerbread cookies there. And there is a wonderful tradition of gingerbread cookies at the White House. But the first ladies learned their lesson, because they did find that during the tours, oftentimes some of the people who were coming through were helping themselves to a snack. So the White House, the head curator said the carnage was horrific. At the end of the day, there would just be heads hanging, arms missing, legs nibbled on. So now usually they don't really put any live cookies real cookies on the tree, or if they put real on the tree, it's up higher so that people can't eat them. And in fact, I think one year Barbara Bush put cookies on the tree, and if you ever see the picture, they're in the clear wrapping, the cellophane. So Betty Ford loved crafting so much that you could write the White House and they would send you instructions. And she actually sent out instructions for this little Christmas robin, and he sits on a clothespin. And I have one here. So these aren't like super quick that you could make them during a Zoom crafting, but actually, Allison, if you want, the directions for this, they're in my book, but I got them from, the Ford Presidential Library. So I'd be happy if you guys just want to throw that up on your website, if anybody wanted to make this particular little Christmas cardinal that was inspired by Mrs. Ford. Mrs. Ford also gave us the cranberry tree, which is a long-standing Christmas craft project at the White House. And for many, many years, there were two women who made these every year. And this is one actually that I made, but it looks almost exactly the same as what would go into the red room. And basically you took live cranberries and they painstakingly glued them on with white glue and a little straight pin through each cranberry. I've made it their way. I've made it using very low glue gun with very low heat. It goes a little bit faster, but I do want to tell you the White House secret, which is they always make two of them. One goes into the fridge and one goes into the red room. And when the one in the red room starts to not look so fabulous anymore, they just swap them out. So at the White House, it didn't make it all the way through the season. In your own home, it may make it through the whole season, depending. The White House also has very, very high standards. But if you do want to attempt to make this, my tip to you is definitely do not use frozen cranberries. It's very, very messy. And what I have found is underneath, it's easier if you maybe wrap it in like a craft moss or some type of moss from the floral store, or even if you want to quick give it, your styrofoam cone, a shot of, gold spray paint. You need to be careful though with styrofoam and glue and spray paint, because sometimes it will actually eat into your styrofoam, which will defeat your purpose. And then, so the first ladies always thinking, what can we do? How can we reinvent, reimagine? Because White House Christmas decorations, folks love to look at them and they look very closely. And this was an idea that Mrs. Obama had to use the cranberry in a different way. And it was a cranberry mantelpiece also in the red room. Here we have, this is Mrs. Carter. She always had, kind of like very homey Christmas decorations. She also had a lot of Victorian Christmas decorations. It was, the mid 70s. But one very simple thing that she did was she took a birthday hat and she turned it into a hanging ornament on the tree. And again, I made this one and it is yellow. A party hat could be any color. It could be red, it could be green for the season. And she basically, cut the elastic off, used a piece of ribbon to make the ornament handle, and then just stuffed it with some, fun Christmas candy and some fun Christmas ornaments. So that is a fun project with children. The other thing I want to say about that is the birthday hat, right? It's big. So first ladies are always thinking of big things to put on the trees. That's why they put the actual books on the trees, because you are working with these enormous trees. So birthday hats serve two purposes, right? Really accessible, rethinking how to use a birthday hat, and then it takes up lots of real estate on the tree. This was a signature look of Laura Bush's, which is really, really fun to do, but this one also is time consuming. This is an ornament topiary tree. So Mrs. Bush did these topiaries in all different ways. This, of course, is an actual large Christmas tree topiary. I have seen actual circular topiaries covered in the ornaments. And then I've seen wreaths done in the same style. And this one is a little tricky. It is like a big puzzle, but the key here is to use the different size ornaments to kind of cover whatever shape you are covering underneath. These are gingerbread ornaments that Mrs. Obama came up with, and I actually have some to show you later. So a different take on the cookie. These were actually made with glue, applesauce, and cinnamon. And then you roll out this mixture almost like a dough, and you cut the cookies. You don't bake them, you let them set over a couple of days, and then you decorate them. And I will tell you, if you have children or if you love gingerbread, these smell wonderful. I have some that I made seriously years ago. They are basically indestructible, and they smell really good, and they are just fun projects with children and grandchildren. So this is what we're going to make today. This is called the candy cane vase, and this vase was actually used at a state dinner during the holidays. So I want you to take a good look at that one, because this is what we are going to attempt to do together. And then I'm going to show you one that I made, and then we're going to try to make one together. So I'm actually going to stop screen sharing now, if that's okay, Allison, so that I can have more space to show people what I'm making. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to push you guys back a little bit and probably lower my screen, because I want you to be able to see what I am doing. Okay, so I am recycling a vase that I have. So you need basically a cylinder vase. And I always get mine at that store that only charges $1. I find them there often. And the supplies we need for this, we need the vase. We need a rubber band, which is my hack, because I've made this a couple different ways, and I'm going to show you guys the easiest way. And then I am going to get my peppermint sticks. So what I want you to know is that you can make this with or without the plastic on your peppermint sticks. I actually prefer making it with the plastic on, because when I have taken the plastic off, what happens is the peppermint stick actually gets a little sticky. And in fact, when you're watering your flowers or changing the water on your flowers, if it gets on your peppermint sticks, they get even more sticky. And the plastic gives it a little bit of shine. The trick is hiding all of this information. So if you have information on one side that you can hide, that's an option. If you want to take all the plastic off and use it that way also, I can share with you that I am sure that when this was served at the state dinner, it did not have the plastic coating on it. But for tonight, I'm going to make mine with the plastic on. It just goes a little bit faster, and it's a lot less sticky. So I've also tried this with hot glue onto glass, and it just doesn't stay. And I thought, how do I get these peppermint sticks to stay around this vase? And I came up with the idea of the rubber band, and it actually makes it pretty fast to do. So you're going to take your rubber band. I have mine on already. I'm going to stretch it out, and I'm going to slide my stick down. And I'm going to check to see that's pretty good here, is in terms of like labeling or something that I'm trying not to see. So I'm going to just work my way around. And what you're going to want to do once you get maybe 3 in is start working around the back of your vase, because believe it or not, these sticks get very heavy and they want to shift. And so if you can kind of distribute the weight a little bit, it'll help keep the shape easier. You really have to show these peppermint sticks who the boss is in this project, because they like to kind of go different ways. But you can see how quickly this is coming together. I think the directions I gave you guys, I think I have 14 sticks for a 3.5 inch diameter vase. I have also made these vases going back to that store where they only charge $1 or 99 cents. I've made these, so keep working around your circle as I'm talking. If you're doing this, we want to fill all the space all the way around. I've made these vases shorter using shorter peppermint sticks. I've actually followed a square glass and gone all the way around, and that's really cute too. But the idea is just to create a candy cane vase covering the outside. So mine's trying to go. Mine's trying to go, and I'm not going to let it do that. I'm going to impose my will upon this vase. What you can do if yours is flopping all over, you can add a second rubber band, which helps the structure. You just have to then, cross over both. And if anyone has any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to just text Allison in the chat. And I think I'm getting pretty close. I have 3 left. I don't know how you guys are doing. I hope you are finding this to be fairly simple. And I am down to my last peppermint step. So there I am. Okay, now I wasn't paying attention and I put some of mine in the wrong way because I see. So you can just twist them to get rid of any labels that you see. And that takes like a little bit of just checking and double checking. I'm trying to go quickly just for the sake of time here. But I think you get the idea of how that works. And I am going to add, now that I'm finished, another rubber band just to give it a little bit more hold. And I think I mentioned to you guys when I did use hot glue on this, they all just popped off. So the rubber band hack really, really has worked for me. So if you remember Mrs. Bush's, I have a little bit of space there. If you remember Mrs. Bush's inspiration vase that we were using, it was very clean cut. So I have just a very clean piece of ribbon, and I'm going to, let's see, I want to show you. I'm just going to tack down one side with my low heat gun so that I have a nice finished edge. So it's folded so you don't see my scissor cut. And that's just to keep it a little bit nicer. And then I'm just going to basically wrap it around. I'm going to hide my rubber bands and I'm going to glue both sides together. And I pre-measured mine. So you can just take your ribbon and, cut yourself a piece that goes all the way around, covering your rubber bands like such. And again, I'm trying to go faster because we are on a little bit of a time crunch here, but I just want you to see like how quickly it comes together. Now, Mrs. Bush always liked to kind of decorate with a single color. She thought that made the most impact. You saw that in those the topiaries that she was doing. Like she would often always do them in one color. And first ladies often will use in their floral design one color to make an impact. And Mrs. Bush often worked with the color red. She loved that. And first ladies often work with carnations because, again, accessible to almost everyone in America has access to carnations. So in that picture, she used a red carnation. And in the interest of time, I have already cut mine, but you can play around with it a little bit. Because our vase was so high, I added a little bit of greens. And usually when I do this, I just try to work with, a taller one in the middle and some greens. I want to push back so you guys can see how it turns out. It's really lovely vase. Let me see if I can get back even further so you can see. You can see a little bit of my label showing there. Obviously, before I have any company over, I would work to cover those, but there it is. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to fuss with the flowers, but you could not, I used a little bit of green filler here. You could continue to, cut your carnations different sizes so you make more of a kind of a globe type look, the way the picture was, or you can just use the greens. And you could do it red, you could do it white. You could fill it with baby's breath, which also is a favorite flower of our first ladies. In fact, Mrs. Reagan loved to decorate with baby's breath. So you can mix your first ladies together. But that is our project. And if we don't have any questions about this project, I will move on to showing you guys some other ones that I have worked on.
We have two quick questions just to
Okay.
confirm. This is Mrs. Laura Bush,
Yes.
her project. Yes.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you use sticks, pretty heavy, thick ones. Have you ever used candy canes or a different type of candy for this?
I have used candy canes, which are very pretty. I've never seen an actual candy cane vase in the White House, but you can basically do the same thing. And interestingly enough, you can put them going either direction. Like if you want them coming out, you can do that. You can also make them go the other way, which is an interesting look. And as I mentioned, then I use the really, like kind of like the really short peppermint sticks. Like I think they were only maybe 4 inches tall. And I made a couple of much shorter vases with the peppermint sticks, and they were cute too. And I just grouped them together in a different way, and I still use the red carnation. So you might not need a vase this big in your home. You might want something really small. The most important thing is, whether it's a cylinder or a square, is whatever surface you are working on, it's a flat edge. You don't want anything that's like curvy. That would just be impossible to do. And that, so yes, you could certainly do that. And I think that Mrs. Laura Bush would probably love that, because again, the first ladies want to inspire us to bring a little, White House decorating to our own homes. And this is also, something that basically all ages can do. So I really like this. And I just love the fact that, a simple dollar vase and a peppermint stick and a carnation, a little bit of ribbon was used at the state dinner. So that I just think is super fun. So I'm going to put this one aside. They are heavy and they're heavy to move. I'm just going to move it over so I can show you guys some other crafts that I have done over the years and who they were inspired by. So I believe in our little write-up, we mentioned First Lady Jackie Kennedy. And I am pretty sure that this crowd is hip to the fact that it was Mrs. Kennedy who said we should have a Christmas theme and put some thought into our Christmas decorating. One of the things that Mrs. Kennedy, she had 2 White House Christmases. She hung miniature ornaments on her tree. And I think one of the reasons they were miniature is they were pretty much, when you look at them and look at the pictures, they look like they were store-bought, but they were miniature ornaments that kind of went in the flow of the theme. The very first theme was the Nutcracker. And one of the things that they did do at the White House under Mrs. Kennedy is they took jewelry boxes, and you can take them obviously right out of your drawer. I bought these at a craft store, and they wrapped the boxes along with her theme of miniatures, and they hung them on the tree. And the fun thing is, people ask me all the time, any jewelry in those boxes? And I have no way of knowing for sure, but I think not, although clearly Jackie was a style icon and fond of jewelry. So one of the things that I did when I made these, just to kind of make them more interesting, is I went and I purchased some fabric and I wrapped the boxes in fabric. And wrapping boxes in fabric under the White House Christmas tree was something that Betty Ford did. So I'm kind of merging my first ladies again with this project, but I basically just took the fabric scrap, and I picked pink because I thought Jackie might like pink. I thought it was pretty fashionable. And I wrapped it. Instead of tape, of course, I used my glue gun and I worked on the edges. And then in a nod to Mrs. Kennedy, the little bow that I made was blue, because her very first Christmas, she decorated with this color blue on the tree. And it was actually dime store cray paper that they put on the tree. So I just bought my curling ribbon, at the pharmacy, because it reminded me of just that the simplicity of the cray paper. And I wrapped them, and I took a little bit of, let me see if I can find one that has, I don't even know if it shows up on the Zoom, just a little bit of gold cord from the craft store that I used to hang it. And Mrs. Kennedy hung miniature wrapped, ring boxes on her tree, and you can too. So it's just a fun and easy craft that, again, brings a little bit of a White House story to your house. So that's Mrs. Kennedy's miniature wrapped boxes. And next up, if you were at my talk last week, you remember we were talking about the state flower balls, and I promised that I would show you how I made them. So the state flower balls were a signature look of Patricia Nixon. They were some of the first ornaments, if not the first ornaments, to be left behind or passed down from a first lady. I'll show you one that's this is one I made. So that's, again, the state flowers, the carnation. I can't remember which state this was. So if the carnation is your state flower, shoot that in the text to Allison. But let me move. I want you to see. So I'm going to move away the supplies for a second so you can just see what I'm holding. The state flower balls, there was one per state. They were made by handicapped Americans. So 50 handicapped Americans were asked to make these. And on each ornament, there was an artificial flower of a state of the United States of America. And these flowers, these ornaments have been used by Mrs. Reagan, Mrs. Obama, Mrs. Clinton. I mean, they're very popular on the tree. So this is one that I recreated, but these are the signature look of them. In addition to the artificial flower, they were covered. Now remember, these were made during Mrs. Nixon's era, so that this kind of crushed velvet and gold rickrack was very popular. And what you're looking at, these pearls, are simply, I don't know if you can see this on Zoom, but it's a pin. It's a straight pin with a pearl on the end of it that I purchased at a fabric store. So this is how I recreated them. I want to show you one other one. What's fun about these, they can be made super big. So this is the magnolia. Got a little beat up in when I put it away and just pulled it out this year. But what's fun about them is you can make them any size. That the flowers can be very impressive. And this one I actually did on a wooden skewer, and I put it into the greens on my mantle, and it's just makes a really pretty statement. So the way you make these, you start with a styrofoam ball, and I just made a little indentation in this. Probably again with a skewer. I get a lot of use out of those wooden skewers. And then I have a couple artificial flowers here. If you were going to do the rose, you'd probably do bigger than this, but you can cut it down. And usually these things, you can either cut them or sometimes they just break easily. Let me see if I have some scissors. I hate to use my scissors on something like this. Let's see if it'll break. It's close. Let's see if we can't just get it. The idea is you're just going to get it to break. There it goes. And I'm going to find my hole. I'm going to use some hot glue when I do this for real, and I'm going to push it in. And so that is how you have the flower coming off of the front. You're going to make the hole, but you're not going to push your flower in until that'll be the last thing that you do. So you start with a styrofoam ball. I did it two different ways when I was troubleshooting this. But for me, the easiest way was I actually bought, this is probably a little bit bigger than an inch of velvet ribbon. And I just used the strips and straight pins to cover my ball. So you can see I'm pulling a straight pin out there. You probably can't see. Trust me, it's a straight pin. I just secure all my edges with the pins. I didn't even use glue. And I cut enough strips to cover my ball. And then what I did was I decorated it with the pins and the rickrack. And it just gave it this very vintage feel that I saw on the state flower balls. So these I think are really, really pretty. How would I hang this on the tree? I would probably do a couple of things. At the White House, we are always using floral wire to attach stuff to the trees. Here's a paddle here. I don't go anywhere without this pretty much all the time in my life, but definitely at the holidays, it's kind of blending in against my dress. Green floral wire. So I would either slide it through maybe underneath this rickrack here and create a hook for myself. Maybe I would do it around the base of the flower and create a hook for myself. The great thing with the green is it blends into the tree. You don't see it. The other thing I have found with these state flower balls is you can kind of tuck them in places and they don't really move. So that is also another option. So these are actually a lot of fun. And, you know, I've done them different ways. I've done them as a centerpiece. I've chosen states where maybe my family has lived and moved from, or maybe where, you know, if people are coming over for dinner, maybe it was a state where they were from. It's just a way that you can connect, and it can be a conversation piece. You know, maybe if your son or daughter is going away to college in a different state, you can make a state flower ball for where they are. Again, it's just another way that one of our first ladies gave us to decorate. So this is Pat Nixon. Whoops, I lost one. I want to show you these because these are also very simple and they turned out quite elegant. This is something that Mrs. Obama did in the Red Room and took some nutcrackers that maybe had seen better days and just simply sprayed them gold. And then they went from being the normal nutcracker that we are used to seeing every day to something that was sophisticated enough to be in the Red Room, which is one of the most beautiful rooms in the White House. And it was just, you know, a little bit of spray paint that changed the way they looked and felt. And also, it's kind of how you style these. Like I have done these really beautiful with like some red Christmas beads around the bottom or some white Christmas beads. And it just changes the whole feel of the nutcracker. When I do these, just like with the snowy suitcases, I try to save whatever is interesting about it that's monochromatic. So this particular guy had a little bit of faux fur around his crown and also his mustache. So I saved that little detail. So that is a Mrs. Obama project. And what else do we have over here? I'll show you the birthday hat, because this one is a little tricky because it becomes very, very top heavy. So this is something, if you do this, that you tuck into the tree and then maybe you wire some of your branches into it. I always like to put some candy in the birthday hat when I do it. Some greens are nice. You know, you can decorate the actual, you know, top and bottom of it. But it becomes top heavy. So one of the ways that I've worked on solving this is that I take a styrofoam ball and again, a skewer with a little bit of glue, and then I glue that to the bottom. That gives me a little bit of weight at the bottom that makes it a little easier to work with. And what you should also know is that you can't, the handle is decorative. You would never use this to actually secure it because it probably won't hold, definitely won't hold. Don't even try it. But what's fun about here is, you know, we tucked in the nutcracker, we have some little ornaments, we have some peppermint, just, you know, just another, you know, idea that we may not have had ourselves that our first ladies gave us. And this one again was Mrs. Carter. And I think we're almost out of time, and I definitely want to answer questions for you guys if you have any questions. So should we do question and answer?
Yeah, I think we can go to question and answer. We had some questions. It seems like you have a stable of like supplies that you keep in your apron. Someone asked about the skewers, if there's a specific type of skewer that you use? It seems like skewers, styrofoam balls, the wire. Are there any other things you recommend?
So what I want to tell you about the wires, I usually start the season with 2 paddles, and one is a thin one. This one I'm using right now is thin, but I will also buy a thick one, which or a thicker one that I don't really love to use as much, but sometimes when things are heavier, you really need that. I also start the season with, I try a new pair of scissors and then an old pair of scissors, because you saw what I did. I used my good scissors and I cut through the wire and the artificial flower. So I try to have a junk pair of scissors where I can just cut if I have to, and then a finer pair if I am cutting some ribbon. And then, so I will have 2 paddles, I will have scissors. I do like to wear an apron. I didn't think I wanted to wear an apron until I got one at the White House, and I just never went back, folks. I keep an apron on me. And then I shared the last class. For me, the magic of everything is the little candle wax dots. And I like to work with the dots, but it also comes like in a little container. There's different brands and sometimes they're hard to find. If you order it on Amazon, you can get it right away. And so for me, when I am adjusting things, you can put something and it'll move. It won't just stay. But if you have a little bit of the candle wax and you press it on the back, it will stay forever and it's great. Be careful though, because you do have to scrape it off and sometimes it leaves a residue. So be careful what you are putting together. The other thing I use always, I have a glue gun on hand and I just assume that I'm going to be gluing some things. And I do like to work with the low heat, just because some of the materials we're working with, if your gun is too hot, it will eat right through your styrofoam. The fun thing about decorating and what specifically working in the White House has taught me is that you have to prepare your space. So when we go to the White House, they clear out all the furniture. Now, I'm not saying clear out all your furniture, but get rid of some of your decor. If you're bringing out boxes that your ornaments are in, you should be putting boxes wherever your storage unit is of what you normally have in your room, because you don't just want to layer all your Christmas stuff on top of what you already have. You can use some of it, but you should at least take one box of things away from your house to make room for your Christmas decorations.
That's a really great recommendation. There were also some specific questions about using recycled objects. We were kind of fascinated by how you were thrifting and sourcing from the community. And people wanted to know a little bit more about that, but also, where do these things go afterwards? We know that the Nixon balls were in the storage unit. Do some of these get reused? Do some of them go to the presidential libraries? What happens with these ornaments?
For the most part, the special ones, the ones that we spoke of as like what was going to be the focal point in the room, those usually will leave with the First Lady and go back to the presidential library and be displayed there. What stays behind is a lot of the stuff that isn't special, but that you need a lot of the filler materials. So for instance, there are quite a few different size, plain ornaments of different sizes and colors that stay together. Every once in a while, I'll spot something that I worked with that was there when I went through the warehouse. There's these sparkly silver reindeer that show up everywhere. So this year, if you watch the HGTV special, look for them. They're like these little wooden reindeer. They're flat, but I've seen them in every room. They're very popular because they can kind of go anywhere. Let's see, I will tell you that all of the greens in the White House are live. So at the end of the season, all of that beautiful roping and garland and the trees that you see and any of the floral elements, and some First Ladies really love to decorate with flowers. They, of course, are disposed of.
Let's see, we have someone suggested combining some of the ornaments and displays. So like taking the vase and arranging the Nixon inspired balls in that. So I
Yeah,
thought that was
you
kind
could
of
certainly
cool.
do that. And then one of the other things I wanted to tell you, I wish I had some ornaments here. I don't. One of the things that we do often at the White House, because we're trying to, you know, fill up so much space on the tree, is we will take a large piece of wire and we call it bundling. We will take 3 ornaments that aren't particularly special. Maybe they're just the round ball ornaments, and we will slide them all on to one wire like this, and then just twist it. And then you just hang the bundle on the tree. And if you're trying to decorate very quickly, bundling your ornaments does make it go really fast. Now, wire is fabulous. At the White House, we don't use any hooks. If you wire something on, it stays. It's sturdier than a hook, so you don't have things falling off. It does make takedown take a little bit longer. And usually you just have you'll have your wire cutters and you'll just cut the stuff off. But it doesn't, it's a little bit longer on both ends, but it stays in place. And, you know, once the team is done decorating at the White House, nobody's touching that decor. So we really do need it to stay put.
Are there any projects that you really love that you proposed that got vetoed or that you didn't get to do?
So along the lines of, there is one that comes to mind right away, and it was part of the snowy suitcase story. We loved the way that looked, so then we said, oh, let's do that on ice skates. Let's do that technique on, you know, a little village under the tree. And we literally just ran out of time. And then another project I always just wish would have gotten in. I became aware of some school children who did some really beautiful art projects, but I didn't become aware of it until, you know, the decorations were already signed off on. And I always just knew that art would have been beautiful at the White House. For me, I love when the White House decorations showcase something that's special about America or Americana. So I'm always looking for those type of things. And one of the things that I found along those lines that did make it into the White House that was kind of cool was turn of the century carousel animals. They used to be made by artisans, and most of them were discarded. Either they were out of wood, they were carved out of wood. And when the plastic came along, a lot of these original beautiful wooden sculptures were let go. And I found several collectors in the United States who actually had reindeer that were on carousels. And we brought those to the White House in 2014. So that was really special. But so I love to find artisans, artists, school children, community groups, and bring those stories to, you know, the White House and the first ladies. But I will share with you, like, I was stunned that the first ladies are truly, I joke, like, they are the commander in chief of the holidays, you know, like they have a lot of their own ideas, their own style, their inspiration, what they want it to look like. And, you know, Mrs. Obama was sending us searching for specific things like the trains. We found these beautiful trains in Omaha, Nebraska. So even though I live in Pennsylvania, it was really important that the decor represented the whole 50 states. So that's like another kind of driving thought in the whole process is, you know, we are a full United States. So it should be represented in the decor.
There's a really great question in the chat about who undecorates the trees. How does that process happen?
So I have never been part of the undecorating because they don't actually have any of the volunteers back for the undecorating. The National Park Service does the undecorating. And the National Park Service also selects the trees and has all the trees and greenery in place and lit where needed before the volunteers even get there. So they are in charge of the takedown. And I will share with you, when I was first learning about the warehouse and working at the warehouse and planning Christmas, my mom said to me, and my mom taught me everything I know about decorating. She said, I'm so interested to find out what the organizational system is there. Like, how do they organize all this? And I will tell you, it's not very organized. It might be different now. I mean, the last I was there was in 2014. Everything just goes into a box, and they do expect some breakage. And I will tell you that the more important signature ornaments are taken down first, would be my guess. And then the rest of it, I don't know for sure. I hear they just topple the trees, and what survives and goes into a box, and maybe what does. But I will also, a lot of the ornaments now are plastic, so they do survive. They can survive a topple. We are not working with vintage glass ornaments in any way. So it is not, I think the takedown is, I think it happens quickly, would be my impression. Like, as soon as, I don't even know when. I know it either happens the week between, Christmas and New Year's. It all comes down pretty quickly. And what they salvage, they send back to the warehouse, and what doesn't make it gets swept up, and its usefulness is over.
Is there a desire to reference past First Ladies designs? And the Nutcracker seems to be a theme that
the Nutcracker has been
over.
repeated, so often. I think it almost 8 times. So Jackie started with the Nutcracker, then Barbara Bush did the Nutcracker, Hillary Clinton did the Nutcracker, Mrs. Obama did the Nutcracker. Yes, sometimes there is, they recreate the style, they reinterpret the style. One of the things that First Lady Barbara Bush did was she also did literacy kind of as an homage to her mother-in-law, Barbara Bush. So there is a lot of crossing of lines. And in fact, in 2012, I think Mrs. Obama did a retrospective of all the First Ladies. That was part of her decor one year. So while there is a lot of drama in Christmas decorating at the White House, there's a lot of unity. It's one of the things that brings both political parties together. And the First Ladies often cross party lines to pay respect to someone who came before them, maybe used a theme that they want to repeat themselves.
Well, Colleen, it has been such a great honor to collaborate with you on these programs. I learned so much about Christmas at the White House from you. And again, Christmas with the First Ladies is Colleen's book. You can find it online. I know some of her ornaments that and her pieces that reference the First Ladies are out there. I've seen them on eBay. I've been coveting some of them. So please find the book, check those out. Some of the recipes that she's mentioned are available in the book, including the gingerbread piece that we did last year for our Flotus program live. We did it with kids. So
yeah, that is really fun. Really worth your time. That one is good. Yeah. I just want to thank everybody who participated tonight. I love the First Ladies. I love the holidays. And I just want to thank you for, allowing me into your home to talk about this tonight. And I hope you enjoyed yourselves.
So thank you, Colleen. Thanks to everyone in the audience. And again, we will send a follow-up email with a link to tonight's program so you can craft along if you didn't get a chance tonight. If you have further questions for Colleen about directions related to the First Ladies, we are always happy to reach out to her, and we will continue to be doing some really cool crafts. I know we've done the Betty Ford in the past. Our Flotus Children's Program is going to do the Michelle Obama bouquet of poinsettias, which is really fun. Yeah. So we're looking forward to more crafts and connecting with Colleen in the future. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and keep tuning in for some of our holiday programs this month. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.